Hello everyone, and welcome to the long-awaited Nub Slayer Guide to Boarding, requested by quite a lot of people, since as it turns out, there are a lot of people that don't know how to board AI and don't realize line ships can actually be boarded, but thankfully, you can now turn them to this video. So, before we start, we have to look at a few infographics. This infographic shows us in the first column, it'll show us what will be starting with each round. The second column will be what the enemy AI will counter with, and the third round will be your counter. Now, if all this goes perfectly, you will win. But the question is, how do you know what the enemy AI is going to do? Well, as it turns out, when the AI picks something and when you pick something, it takes about half the preparation cost up front. So you can see this is how much preparation will be lost when the enemy selects a certain option, and you can use this and the previous chart to figure out what. Now brace is a special case because brace is only used when the enemy has less than 15 prep, but it won't be shown as preparation. The musket count will go to 0. So keep that in mind. Now here, we've tagged a Victory and a couple USS, but they're too far upwind to do anything. And we're going to just go ahead and go to board this Victory. Now this tutorial isn't going to be a guide on how to actually board the ships, because there are plenty of guides that teach you how to do that. Moist Tea has a good one. There's definitely a lot others out there, so that's not my responsibility. Mine is just going to be show you what happens when you get into the actual boarding with a line ship. And look at how close these crews are. 1117 to 1066. It's pretty close. But once we get into this boarding here, yep, we air brake real quick just to slow ourselves down. First rates don't usually move fast enough that you have to do too much maneuvering. But here we go. We hear the signature whistle and I don't actually know what instrument this is. But regardless, we have 15 seconds to prep, and now we want to watch the preparation bar. It'll go down by the certain number seen on the second chart, and the enemy only starts with deck guns or attack. So we can see they attack here, so we switch to defend right after they decide to attack. Now, one of the important things to note here, and this is where a lot of people make mistakes, but the devs actually switched it so that you can't last second switch against the line ships anymore. You can do it against the shallow ships and some 5th rates, sure, but with this you have to switch as soon as they pick, because you notice how you have a 7-second cooldown up to switch to a different option. The AI actually has that cooldown as well. So you can see here, we're kind of just cooking this AI. We're paying attention to what's going, kind of what they're doing, countering them perfectly, and we're slowly taking more and more crew off of them, getting a bigger advantage while those sneaky little 4th rates keep approaching us. But it doesn't actually, it's a bit of a lame strategy, but the point is to keep your preparation high. Because what I like to do is just alternate between brace and defend. And once they exhaust all their preparation and start to use brace, that's when you can start attacking and going on the offensive. And it keeps your preparation a lot higher, so you have a lot more options. Now you can see they're at 0 morale now, so we just switch to attack after they put in their attack. And we're going to get this victory. Now the second battle is a bit of an interesting one I want to show off. It's what to do against if you want to try to board a ship with more crew than you. Now, you can board a ship with more crew than you if you have medicine, since the AI doesn't actually have medicine or use it. However, some people would feel more comfortable going against even or less crew. So this is just going to show you how to do it. And for this, I'm in my pirate frigate against an Indef. The Indef has about 100 more crew than the pirate frigate, so we're going to want to get rid of a lot of that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is load chain on every side. And chain's just going to slow it down so that we can utilize our maneuverability advantage. And you'll see this a lot in pretty much every battle nowadays, because chain is pretty meta right now. You want to get rid of your opponent's maneuverability, just so you have a bit of an upper hand. And I will try to publish a guide on sort of protecting your sails and how to use chain properly if people really want it. So just let me know down below in the comments or wherever. This video is sped up at 2x speed just because it is a bit of a longer one. But here we switch to ball just to open up the enemy's stern, because the thing about grape is it will not work on fully armored opponents. So the stern, since the stern is the easiest thing to open up, you want to get the stern open so you can start graping down your opponent's crew. Now, from what I've noticed, I feel like AI do have some splinter resistance, so it's harder to grape down an AI. Like you'll see on this first pass right here with grape. Actually, no, I have chain loaded right now. But like when I was, because a few days ago I was up against a British Constitution in my Diana, which has around 150 less crew, if I recall correctly. And one single volley of grape up the stern was able to pretty much knock him down to my level of crew. So that's how powerful grape can be if you have it up correctly. One interesting quirk about the pirate frigate, which I will point out right now, is if you look in the bottom right, you'll see I don't actually have boarding prepped, but I still have 50 boarding preparation. And that's just a quirk of the pirate frigate. There are a few ships that have this quirk, where they have some starting boarding prep. So the pirate frigate has 50, and I believe the only other two ships to have it are the Privateer and Niagara, both of which have 20 starting prep. But those ships are really too fast for boarding to be reasonable with them, so pirate frigate's really the best ship to utilize this trait. Especially since 50 preparation is enough to instantly board, so I don't even have to load 9 at all if I don't want to. But if you remember from last season, if you were there, there was a cookbook modifier that gave you, the golden cookbook gave you 60 starting preparation on any ship, so you could insta-board anything if they didn't have privateer. Last season was a fun meta for boarding. Riga Santi, full-on boarding. How exciting. Another thing you want to keep in mind about grape right there is that the closer you are to the ship, the more damage it does, since grape falls off really quickly. But, I mean, if the stern's open, obviously you want to take the shot, but just keep it in mind when you're maneuvering. Now, we did switch to the boarding just because it's very hard to actually get a 5th rate in boarding, just because of how fast they can turn and move. But here we have boarding up. You can watch me utilize the same technique, even though I don't have to. But one nice thing about this is that the enemy, since the enemy is starting with less than their maximum crew, their morale is actually severely damaged already. So we have a huge morale advantage, which, especially if you're in PvP, is massive. Because this kind of morale advantage could bring your opponent to a loss, even if they have like 400 crew left, so. But the thing about boarding is that every single crew matters, because especially if you're not in a 1v1, you're gonna want that crew to pretty much get out of there as soon as possible. Put it all in your sails, put it in repairs, put it in everything. and just recover, because an undercrewed vessel is a very vulnerable vessel. But you can see that was a very easy win. So we got a green indef, so there we go. Now, a few important things that I should note. One, this does not apply to PvP, since players are smart and do not follow this. Two, don't board elite ships, the ones with the skull and crossbones, because they have insane boarding mods. And three, boarding ships is not worth it because of real damage. So, only do it if you want the ship. But that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for some more guides. Let me know what you might want me to cover next. And keep up with NV News, because we're very active. Feel free to come join us if you're interested. I've been Nubslayer, and see you all.